Danny and I, when we were kids, we worked out together, and like he said, push-ups and pull-ups have been a staple from the beginning. We did do weight training for a long time. We both have a lot of experience in weight training, and both of us, I think, with our clients, still do some weight training because not everyone wants to do calisthenics. Not everyone can jump up on the bar and do pull-ups without building some strength with other things before that. Not to say that you can't do lead-up exercises with calisthenics, but I'm getting away from the original question, I think. What was the original question?
Well, I'm just saying, like, did one of you guys start training
yeah,
first, or like, have you always
Danny's
trained
a few years older than me, so he started working out before I did. And I think once I became, 13 or so, we kind of became workout buddies. I actually got into the personal training business first, and after I was doing it for a few years, I kind of pulled Danny in. I was like, "You should really do this too. You'll be really good at it." He had a job he didn't like that much, right?
It's true. It's funny because one of the things that attracted me to training, again, I'm 38 years old, I've been working out for almost 30 years. One of the things that attracted me to working as a personal trainer was the here and right now element. Whereas I had been involved in music, I had been involved in promotions, I had a career in marketing, and to just get away from marketing, which is so much of here is the image that we want you to see, and then training is what you have is what you have right here. There's a certain primal beauty to it and simplicity to it in actually being able to earn a living off of something so simple and so real. But Al was a trainer for a few years before I was.
And is this all that you guys do right now? Do you have any other jobs, or is it just personal training?
Yeah, I haven't done anything other than fitness-related things for an income for a long time. I guess I'm fortunate in that regard that I've been able to pursue something that I love and make a living doing it.
Absolutely.
100% of my income is fitness related right now, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, we talked about earlier, like, calisthenics, been around forever. Mm-hmm. You guys, I mean, everybody's first exercise is push-ups, and we're all little kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like played sports growing up. I mean, you always did sit-ups and push-ups, obviously. And then the whole world kind of, went on a different swing. Focusing on weights and bodybuilding, that sort of stuff, and then now we've kind of seen it swing back. Like, tell me about your introduction to this whole like bar culture and bar world. Meaning
I think everything is cyclical. I like how you mentioned that. Calisthenics was popular, and then bodybuilding kind of became the thing in the 70s and the 80s, and then in the 90s the tide gradually started shifting back. And then really in the last 5 years or so, there's been this underground resurgence, as you know, of people who are just keeping it as simple as possible and focusing on body weight. And there's this thing where people feel like they have to pick one or the other. I don't think it necessarily has to be like that. I mean, calisthenics is great because it's free if you come to a park like this. It's convenient. You can do it anywhere. You don't need equipment. But weight training is a really great way to build strength, and that strength can't have carryover into this. So I don't feel like people have to pick one or the other, although sometimes people just like to compartmentalize things.
Speaking of that, I have to agree that it's not mutually exclusive, weight training or body weight training. They're both resistance training. And if you think about it, all the old school strongmen were deadlifting. They were military pressing. They were also doing body weight challenges. They were also doing feats of strength that involved weights, that didn't involve weights. It doesn't have to be a separation of it. I would recommend pull-ups, I would recommend dips, I would recommend hanging leg raises to anybody in the whole world. I would certainly also recommend deadlifts. I would certainly also recommend squats, things like that, even with outside resistance.
The first time I think either of us ever saw a muscle up, I think was maybe 06.
Yeah.
There was actually a trainer that we worked with. We used to work for New York Health and Racquet Club. And there was a new trainer who came in one day and did a muscle up, and we're both just like, huh? And of course, both of us had been really good at pull-ups at that point. So like anyone who's good at pull-ups, who sees a muscle up, we both thought, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And of course, you jump up and you can't get the transition, you can't get over. And a few weeks of that, eventually we got it. And then that opens up this world, and we started looking on YouTube for videos of guys doing this stuff. And then of course there was all these videos out there, and we started seeing like the early Barbarians videos and some of the early Hannibal ones and bartenders and all the groups. I don't necessarily want to call out anyone in particular because I don't want to leave anybody out,
Yeah.
But some of these early YouTube videos were definitely inspiring. And then because we had a lot of strength, and because we'd had the good foundation with the pull-ups and the dips, we were able to get some of these skills quicker than a beginner might. And that's a funny thing when I know people ask Danny this a lot, people ask me this a lot, like, how long did it take you to get the human flag? And we're both always like, I don't even know exactly. We just kept trying it and trying it and trying it. And eventually there's that moment where it's like, you stay up for a half a second and something clicks and you're like, wait, I didn't just jump and fall down. I actually managed to stay up.
It's a fine moment right
yeah,
there.
it's a breakthrough. And then you're able to build on that and turn a half a second into a whole second, into 5 seconds, etc. But it's hard for someone like Danny or myself to really answer a question like that because we were both really strong before we even discovered this sort of stuff from doing weights and laying that foundation.
It's an unusual question, how long did it take you to do a human flag? Because I never tried one until I was already working out for 25 years. So do we factor that in? Do we not factor it in? The other great thing about the human flag or any of these things is there really is a certain specificity to it. You're going to see, especially, the internet is great. How Al mentioned, you see all these amazing calisthenics athletes on YouTube. The other downfall of it is that there's a lot of information out there and not all of it is good. I've seen articles that list 90 different exercises you should do to get to a human flag, and one of them isn't try doing human flag. It's do this, do that, do the other thing. And really, no, you're going to get better at doing the human flag. Sure, there's little things you can do to tweak it, technique-wise, various modifications, but doing 90 variations of different things may or may not actually help the flag. Grab the bar, try it, see what needs work.
But of course, you have to have that foundation first. Something like I was saying, the fact that Danny and I did so much of the basics for so long, because that's all we knew. And now you get people who are new to training, new to this, and they know about human flags and muscle ups and one-arm pull-ups, and they want to just jump right in and start doing advanced stuff. But it's like, you've got to have that foundation solid first. And the way we're lucky that we didn't discover any of this stuff until we had the foundation. So that's when we discovered, muscle up, we were able to then just start working toward it right away.
Yeah, dude, that's a major point that I'm seeing, and I definitely want to touch on. Is like, there's so many people that just want to get the tricks.
They just want to get right to the finish line, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you're going to get yourself hurt doing that.
Yeah.
I know so many people like, do you find that, do you think that there's a lot of people that just want to get to the tricks?
A lot of people, yeah. That's a bigger cultural problem I think that we have here in America, is that everyone's just focused on a quick fix. And so much of marketing and things in our culture pander to that. And there's so many, in the fitness industry especially, there's a lot of products that just want you to feel like, hey, you can get this result without having to do any work. And my whole thing is the opposite of that, is immerse yourself in the process, be patient with it, enjoy the process, have fun with it, and results will come.
Culturally speaking, we are very goal-oriented and we are not very process-oriented. And like Al said, that goes way beyond the pull-up bar. That goes into everything, and it's not even anybody's fault for believing the hype. We are constantly bombarded with images, especially in the fitness world, where this is what I look like after 30 days. Yeah. This is what I look like after 90 days. I was a fat pud that couldn't do this 2 weeks ago, and now I have ripped washboard abs. We're bombarded with this imagery nonstop. And yeah, most people are stupid enough to believe it. I heard this amazing thing, Well, I'm going to leave this one out.
Stupid isn't always it's gullibility, and it's people, it's easy to take advantage of people for these big corporations, and, it's too bad that they want to do that.
Bottom line is, you have to work hard, and you have to earn it in anything.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful and empowering thing for anybody.
Exactly. And you'll find, I'm sure, as you interview people, the people sometimes who are the strongest and can do the most impressive things have the most humble attitude about it, because they got there through putting in the time and putting in the effort and failing again and again and again, and that takes your ego out of it. It's dangerous when you have people who are able to do really difficult things, either because they just have a lot of natural ability or for whatever reason, and they get there without having to struggle for it. And that's when you get people whose egos can get out of control sometimes.
You gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it, yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. That's my favorite thing about working out, is in so many other things in life, if you have connections, or if you have money, or if you're charming, you can get around having to do the work. And with pull-ups, none of those things matter. It doesn't matter if you know the right person, or if you have money to hire a great personal trainer. It's like if you don't do the work, you don't get the results.
Most of the people that inspire me, I mean, honestly, the first people I saw on YouTube was the bartenders. I never even met any of those guys, but those were the first images that I saw of this type of thing. But in terms of me getting inspired by anybody, it's the people you don't know from YouTube. It's the people I work out with in this park at 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It's the guy here doing pull-ups who doesn't have a YouTube account. It's the guy here who does 700 push-ups every morning who's 55 years old, who looks like he's 21, or ripped 21. These are the guys that inspire me.
Yeah.
The dudes doing pull-ups on the bars, push-ups, leg raises, no cameras, no nothing. They're here, they're working hard for the oldest, noblest, and purest of reasons. It's true, man. That's what makes life beautiful.
No, I agree completely. I was just going to say the most inspiring people are not necessarily the ones who can do the most difficult moves, but they're the ones with heart. When I see a beginner out here who can only do 3 pull-ups but is giving everything he's got into those 3 pull-ups, that's more inspiring than seeing someone crank out 10 muscle-ups and like no big deal. I mean that can be inspiring too, but it's the inspiration comes from, you know, the person from the inside out, not from the outside.
I've personally been inspired by some of my clients.
Yeah.
If I have a personal training client who, when I met, their knees hurt and they couldn't do a squat and they had 40 pounds of extra weight holding them back, and a year later, 2 years later, at 45 years old, they're in the best shape of their life. I'm inspired seeing that. That makes me want to step up my game in a positive way to bring out the best in myself, because I've seen other people bring out the best in themselves.
Right on.
Danny, you just mentioned something I think that is kind of interesting and become a part of this culture, the camera. You know, a lot of the global spread, a lot of the initial spread came from YouTube, and I think that's absolutely a positive thing, but do you feel like that's an important part of it now, or even a good or positive or negative part of it now? It seems like it's a person or a team, the bar, and the camera.
Yeah.
I believe that the involvement of the internet, YouTube, all these resources as far as calisthenics go and as far as everything goes is spectacular in that it brings people together and people can see things that there's no way they would have seen otherwise. At the same time, like any aspect in life, certain things do get overexposed. There's a lot of misinformation. It makes the pool that much bigger, which can be an amazing thing, and it can be a not so amazing thing. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly opened up doors for a lot of people in terms of being seen.
I mean, I think the thing with the filming that's really made a cool positive effect on my training is when you look back at your own stuff, you can see it so much more objectively than when you're doing it. And through doing YouTube videos, it's helped me kind of be my own trainer, because I film my workout and I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, that's what that looks like? And then it's like, okay, I gotta clean that up, I gotta get that better. And sometimes knowing that I'm trying to get something together to show to an audience that's potentially gonna be critical of it makes me more critical of it myself, and be like, some of these guys are gonna be watching this who I know are super strong and super capable, and I don't want them to see it and think like, this guy's a clown. So it forces me to be on the top of my game, knowing that people are gonna see it.
I want to add, you know, a lot of the people who are critical on the YouTube, things like that, you know, like anything, you take the positivity from it. Anyone who gets bogged down on any negative feedback or this or that, you know, it is what it is. You take it for what it's worth. There's a lot of support, there's a lot of positivity, you know. Can't be bogged down by the haters in calisthenics, in life, in sports, in anything in the whole world. There's always people that want to take. That's cool, that's the way the world works.
No, honestly, when I get negative feedback on a YouTube video, which doesn't happen that often, which is great, it makes me feel like...
What kind of negative feedback?
You know, people will often just write, and it's probably just like, you know, kids who are immature or whatever, but you get a lot of just like poorly written, like, oh, you guys are a couple fags, or, you know, this is bullshit, or I'm sure you've seen some of these comments, just really closed-minded negative things. I honestly feel flattered that they took the time to comment at all, because it makes me feel like they were moved in one way or the other. Even if they were moved to think, God, this guy's such an asshole, I can't stand that he's always smiling all the time. That's a big thing that people criticize me for, is why are you always smiling? It's like, I like what I'm doing, I'm a happy person, I want to project that outward.
it's a fine line between love and hate. You know, you
Yeah.
fire up some intense emotion in somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, good.
Yeah, it's like when we were
Takes
kids.
a lot more to get a rise out of me personally than someone doing a pull-up with questionable form. But
Danny and
each
I
their
were
own.
big wrestling fans when we were kids, and I know for me that was a gateway to want to get into fitness because I wanted to be like my heroes, who were all big, muscular guys.
Who were some of your heroes?
You know, the classics: Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. R.I.P. to both of them.
Yeah, right.
But it's one of those things, like when I watched wrestling as a kid, there were guys who I thought I didn't like, and boo, I hate you. And then looking back, I was like, I loved that guy because he got me excited, he got me emotional.
Right. It took me till I was 35 years old to admit that I like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Okay, I said it.
Because yeah, we would always root for the bad guys. We would be like, oh, Hogan sucks, like you know, get him Mr. Perfect, or get him Sergeant Slaughter, or whoever. Because we just thought he was so corny. And looking back, like we loved how corny he was because he got us riled up.
But another thing too about being criticized, whether it's on the internet or by whoever's on YouTube critiquing you, you know, I mean, you got to have a thick skin too. I mean, I grew up like a long-haired rock and roll listening to kid in a neighborhood in Brooklyn that there's still no white people or restaurants in. So I mean, you develop a thick skin when you grow up a certain way. And I think anybody who lets anybody get a rise out of them too much, they got to learn to thicken up their skin a little bit and just do their own thing and let the chips fall where they may.
Do you think that helps you, I mean, kind of assimilate into this culture? I mean, now it's worldwide, but you know, initially it was definitely more of a black, you know, culture thing. You know what I mean? Like, does that come into it all? Did you get negative feedback about that? Like,
I've never in this calisthenic community gotten any type of negative racial feedback ever. You know, and again, I don't put it out there either. I went to PS208 on Avenue D in Utica in Brooklyn. Google it. I never allowed that element to be a part of with me either. But I mean, it's a beautiful world, and there's a lot of different people, and that's what makes life beautiful. That's what makes the world beautiful.
I'll tell you, it's one of my favorite things about this whole thing is it kind of unites people who otherwise wouldn't be united. And it doesn't matter where you're from or, you know, what your color, your skin, or even your gender. You got a lot of women popping up doing this stuff now in a very male-centric sort of thing. And it's just really cool to see that everyone is welcome into the community.
And on that, I've even seen some transgender dudes rocking some amazing bodyweight exercises right here in the East Village, believe it or not. And you know what? It's open, it's embraced. Some of the most hardcore looking dudes are asking some of the transgendered folks, hey man, what was that move? How'd you do that? I've seen it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a New York City phenomenon, or maybe that's a worldwide phenomenon, but it's an incredible thing.
back to the camera aspect of it. Do you guys think that some people are in it just for the, you know, exhibitionist aspect of it all? Or because, you know what I mean? Like, most of the people I've seen, and I've said this online, are doing this for like a positive social movement to motivate people to like lift up their community. But like, I still feel, I'm not exactly sure, but like, do you guys think that there are people that are out there just for like image reasons and that kind of stuff, or negative?
You know, I really don't think there's that much of that. It's one of those things, if you want to feed your ego or you want to make a lot of money, this is not the way to do it. There's a lot of other outlets to pursue. Nobody finds this stuff because it's underground. You don't find it unless you're looking for it. You have to go to YouTube or go to Google and put in one-arm pull-up or muscle up. And if you're not already into it, you're not even gonna know it exists.
And I don't think there's really too many people who are doing it simply for the exhibitionism or to be famous or to be a YouTube sensation, because the bottom line is, you gotta do it. No matter what your motivation is, if you're doing a human flag or you're doing a 360-degree muscle up, you got to do that 360-degree muscle up. There's no faking the funk when it comes to that. And anybody who's ever done those maneuvers or attempted those maneuvers can appreciate and respect the amount of hard work, discipline that went into that.
The moves speak for themselves. You can't be a poser doing this because it takes years to get to the point where you're good. You know, you have like in pop music, you have someone who it's just all studio magic to make them sound like they're a better singer than they really are, but there's no trick to doing this stuff.
No one can write the song for you on the pull-up bar.
Yeah,
no one
exactly.
can Pro Tools your performance on the pull-up bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Danny, is there anything else you want to say before you have to go that I didn't have a chance to ask?
I do want to say one more thing about it. You know, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is just about what age to get started with this stuff. Anybody could do body weight training. Anybody could do it. I've seen 12-year-olds get amazing results with it. I've seen 60-year-olds get amazing results with it. I've seen people who haven't even attempted this type of thing until they were 60 years old. That being said, your first move should not be a muscle up, but this stuff is great for everybody. Keep it positive. We don't need to give our money to big corporations and buy snazzy equipment and gym memberships. People have been getting in shape since the dawn of time with little to no equipment. And keep it positive. That's all I want to add.
Right on.
Awesome.